You know, the Buddha said that life is suffering, right? Life not life may not just be about suffering, but what suffering does do is it gives you an ability to see things, an ability and an experience that you may not ever get, a bit of wisdom that you may not ever get from not experiencing some horrible things, right? And what I'm referencing there is experience in, if not being in an abusive relationship, or at least seeing an abusive relationship unfold, right? And what you tend to see is obviously the maltreatment is kept behind closed doors to a degree, right? So long as both parties play their part in keeping it silent and keeping it their little thing, right? And there's two parties to play in it. But what happens then when one party decides that they want to leave, right, is the abuse gets more severe. It gets more explicit. It gets more intense, and it is on show for more people to see, right? The abuser no longer wishes, or I would say the abuser then throws caution to the wind and is no longer solely concerned with keeping up the social persona, right? They want everyone to see me as the good guy, or they want everyone to see me as a lady, right? But behind, what is it, the street angel, house devil, that kind of thing, right? But when the other person attempts to leave or is in the process of leaving, or when the abuser believes that the person is close to getting out and getting away, chaos ensues, right? And I think that's what you're seeing across Europe now. You have Germany, who are going gung ho arresting people for thinking. You have England doing the same. You have Ireland, who've been pushing that. You have these, uh, what would you call them, bureaucrats in Europe breaking down crying because an American vice president said that you should allow people to be a little bit free, right? This kind of nonsense. But you're seeing this stuff escalate. And I believe that the stabbings and all that stuff, I don't believe these are random. I think that these are coordinated things. If not being allowed to happen, then some of them I think are made, they're guaranteed to happen, right? That is the intention of these people. You see that fella in, is it Germany or France? I think it's Germany, where he attacked kids, he killed one child, and he's just sitting there pointing to his God, right? Giving his own symbol and smiling, right? This is a calculated thing. Like, this isn't just someone blown their top, right? So I think, and look, if you read into any history and you read into psychological warfare and programs and the strategy of tension and Operation Gladio and all that stuff, the whole idea is that you terrorize a native population to push them towards identifying with and backing the supportive consensus, or the supportive status quo, i.e. the government that's already in power, right? You try and terrorize them into backing their government to implement ever more draconian laws, right, over the population, right? So I think that's what you're seeing. I think the wheels are coming off the cart, and it looks like it's a free for all, right? It looks like it's a free for all. So I expect a little bit more chaos. And again, we are humbly recognize your part in it. We can't decide as individuals, we can't decide what goes on big picture, right? So in a way, we're kind of victims of the design that is unfolding, whatever that ends up being, right? So, but I think there's a glowing light shining in now, and the fact that the abuse, the manipulation, the violence, all that stuff is being cranked up, that's a positive thing. Not in and of itself, but it speaks to a positive movement towards a more open and widespread understanding of what's going on now, because the abuser is starting to recognize that the victim is on the way out the door, right? And that's what we need to do, is discontinue this relationship we have with these horrible abusive organizations and governments, right? We're on the way out the door. What our future is now, that's what we decide.